In a court ruling U.S. versus Fishbein, a man subjected to potential incineration while wearing another man's suit is entitled to $10,000 worth of airline tickets. It's an obscure ruling, but a very important one. To Thrive Loud with Lou Diamond.
I don't need to teach you to be more like me. I need to teach you to be more like you.
Longtime listener and a huge fan.
Lou, I am tremendous.
And the more I unplug from technology and people, the more I can serve people with technology.
What you're standing for with connection, I think it's the key to everything.
You're just an amazing breath of fresh air for sure.
Lou, you're a diamond in the rough, my man.
Because for me, if I'm not living high energy, I'm surviving and I want to be thriving.
Get ready to thrive loud with Lou Diamond.
I love it.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Thrive Loud with Lou Diamond, connecting you to the most inspiring and amazing people who are thriving each and every day. I'm your host, Lou Diamond. Today on Thrive Loud, we have a physical therapist, former Major League Baseball rehab coordinator, and the founder and owner of Pipeline Performance. After serving the St. Louis Cardinals as their Medical and Rehabilitation Coordinator, he wrote Injured to Elite, a guide to empowering yourself to transform your life after injury, to empower the world with a newfound mental approach to physical rehab. Thrive Loud listeners, coaching underdogs to achieve the impossible. Dr. David Meyer. David, how are you today?
Lou, it's absolutely awesome to be here with you. Special shout out to our man, Jason Holzer, who is an amazing individual. So glad to be here with you. Thank you for having me.
JH, the coach of the coaches, as I love to say, and a rock star himself, but he connected us. And I love guys who have so many letters after their names. I have to kind of decode them. Dr. David Meyer, for those who will see it in the show notes, I guess PT is for PT, DPT, CS, CS. My goodness.
I don't have enough. You know, what's funny. I don't have enough compared to my peers. And I've narrowed them down because, you know, I'm like getting so far away from physical therapists, but a lot of my peers, they could write pages and pages of acronyms after their names compared to me. So it's funny you say that, but you're right.
Let's do this. I want to do the quick rewind. I want to hit rewind just a little bit, like I just missed the beginning of a show, and then catch us up to get to current here. So figure we've hit the 30-second button back twice. I want to hear how you got out of the last gig that you were going into and how you started this new thing, Pipeline Performance, because I think it's pretty fascinating, because I think our listeners will appreciate, obviously, the experience of what you've done before, but get a feel for how that made you move into what you're doing now.
All right, Lou, I'll give you the bluff statement, the bottom line up front. So grew up in Long Island, big sports guy. Hockey and baseball were my two loves. My father grew up with chronic kidney disease, and he was an absolute diehard Met fan. Jets, Islanders, Nets, don't ask any more questions, please. And it rubbed off on me in a big way. And seeing him persevere through his physical illness and his challenges there lit a fire in me. And I can't even really explain to you how that genesis happened, but it connected me in a deep way to help serve others and to find the best within themselves, because I saw my father do it. So needless to say, when you're 5'5" and you realize that your dream of playing in Major League Baseball is a little bit just not going to happen, guy, no matter how many times you watch the movie Rudy, you switch it to wanting to work in professional baseball. That's why a lot of my colleagues, well, what did you want to do? I wanted to be an athlete, and I couldn't be one, so I worked in athletics. So my dream, my father died in 2006. The St. Louis Cardinals, the New York Mets are playing each other in the NLCS. Crazy times, right? Yadier Molina, and then they strike out Carlos Beltran, something I'll never forget. And my father, he tells me after they lose, he's like, Dave, the Mets aren't going to be the same for a while. And I'm like, yeah, well, you've been saying that a lot. And not to get morbid, but my father was sick at the time, and he passed away at Columbia Presbyterian about a month later. And I was with my family at Thanksgiving of 2006. And I vowed to my family, huddled up, I was going to do whatever I could to make my father proud, make my family proud. I'm an only child. My mother really kept us together. And I just saw the vision, work in Major League Baseball. 9 years later, I don't think in a million years I would have chosen the Cardinals, the team that beat the Mets, and I'm throwing my dorm room chair across the room. I'm so pissed that Yadi and Waino are striking out Beltran. And so 9 years later go by, really fast forwarding here. I become a physical therapist at NYU and got my doctorate there. And I'm doing a sports residency at the Hospital for Special Surgery in the city in New York. And after the end of my residency, the Cardinals job opens up. I'm in Lake Placid. I get a call from Gary LaRocque offering me the job. I don't negotiate it, big mistake, but I accepted it unequivocally on the spot. And no matter how big of a dream it is, you have a chance. You have a little window, even if it's a few dollars. Don't miss that. And I was told by Gary, I'll never forget this, Dave, we're going to expand your job duties. And the way I describe that is I became the lunch attendant, the school bus driver, the school nurse, the school principal, the gym teacher. And so I was down there in Jupiter, Florida, overseeing the medical needs of the entire minor league system. And whenever the major league players were on rehab assignments, there I was, just little Dave, with the responsibility of getting the players like Lance Lynn and Jaime Garcia back to the show. And it was a dream come true. It was a nightmare come true at times. And, halfway into my experience there, I had a player on a training room table rewinding. I was a psych major, graduated from SUNY Albany, my first love, and seeing my father's struggles. And the player's sitting there on the training room table, Lou, and I'm looking at him and I sense this energy. I sense this. I'm an intuitive empath, so I feel something's not right. And he was in this Tommy John rehab. He's a year into it, and things are going okay at best. And I just felt like something was off. And instead of me taking him in the training room office and saying, dude, how's everything going? How are you coping with this? I just kind of made light of it, try to, pep him up a little bit. And all the other players were in the training room. I was giving them bands and going out and throwing with the players, and I missed it. And about 6 months, a year go by, and he was making it back, transitioning to a team. We come in one day and we're told, unfortunate thing happened. A player attempted suicide.
Wow.
And it hit me like a ton of bricks, because I'm like, oh, Dave, you were there. You had it. You felt it. You felt the energy, and you could have done it a little differently. Forget about athlete. And I vowed to myself after that, I said, I'm going to start connecting with these players again on a human level. Forget about this being my dream job. I'm here for a greater purpose than just the acclaim of having this job at the St. Louis Cardinals. And I went on this journey the next year and a half working for the Cardinals, of reconnecting with that, and eventually realizing the fit was not perfect in terms of me working for an organization, as I wanted to prioritize the player. Sometimes I feel guilty saying it, but the truth is I just wanted to put the player above everything else, because they were a human first, and they go through this crazy identity crisis when they're hurt. And that was the metamorphosis. That was the beginning of this whole thing of injured to elite and pipeline performance. Pipeline performance is more of the company that I treat out of and I coach, but injured to elite became this new methodology, this mental side of rehabilitation that I honed in on. And ever since then, I haven't really looked back. I'm not applying for major league jobs anymore. We could say that.
Let's talk about the work that you're doing with this. So who's coming to Dr. David Meyer, and what's the type of work that you are doing, which seems like it's more of what's going on upstairs versus a lot of the key motors and parts of what people have on their body.
Yeah. Lou, I'm not a clinical psychologist. I'm a physical therapist, and I'm somebody that's working towards something called a CMPC, Certified Mental Performance Consultant, through the Association of Applied Sports Psychology. Now all the teams are hiring. So I'm trying to be a trailblazer on the physical therapy side, getting the CMPC. But what I do with my clients, let's say they have a rotator cuff tear or an ACL tear and they're a skier. The first thing I talk about is this whole idea of time zero. So they come to me, they're like, Dave, help me with some exercises. And, I need to get back onto the slope or back on the field. And I say, yeah, I'm going to help you with that. But the unfortunate truth here that you might not want to hear is the fortunate truth is the power is in your hands. I can't do it for you. Our healthcare system is in shambles because we are under this guise that the medical system solves it. It doesn't work that way. That's 150 years of medicine. But the future of medicine is to empower everybody that is a part of it to really have the tools they need. So I first tell the person, look, I'm going to equip you with some tools, and they're going to be less physical. They're going to be much more on the mental side. How to view what you've gone through differently. I call it your time zero, the first moments after your injury. So really it starts with a very immersive process of gaining perspective and then learning the steps that you could take home, because 99% of the time you're not with me, you're with yourself. You're in the clinic 1% of the time. And let's face it, Nobody really wants to be in a clinic. Even those that want to be in there, they don't want to be in there. The life is better outside the clinic. And so the process is really, like you said, it's really more of a mental model. How do we utilize mindfulness, meditation? How do we utilize self-talk in a positive light? And then it starts from there. And then building your own roadmap, your own GPS of how to rehab yourself. And that's the foundation of it.
We had Hannah Huseman from the Philadelphia Phillies on the show not too long ago. And really as literally a mental performance coach for the Phillies. And we got into a whole conversation about the three different challenges. There's obviously the coaching staff, which is working on the basics of the skills, the medical rehabilitation staff that's working on helping injured players get back to healthy, getting back to par. And then people like herself and yourselves who were basically helping to elevate the mind to get them where they need to be focused. And more, we realize what's between our ears is such a vital, important part to everything we do. When it comes to these challenges that these top performers have, what's the most common thing that you see, behavior, a trait, maybe a limiting belief or something of that nature, something that you see more often than not from the people you work with? I'm very curious to hear where this goes.
I think the biggest thing that most individuals, so the way I always describe this is the players in the major leagues or the minor leagues, they went two different directions when they came after a significant injury. Most of the players, if you think about it, when they experience a really significant hardship physically, their career will eventually in the immediate future come to a wrap.
Yeah.
There's a select few. And when you think about it, there's not many players that play at the highest level. There's really very few. And most of these players already are in a better state. They have a little bit more positive psychological capital that people out of UPenn, Marty Seligman, Angela Duckworth kind of talk about, Carol Dweck. So they have a little bit more positive psychological capital or PsyCap, even as simple as confidence, right? That's a predictor of success in major leagues. They might not be necessarily more book smart, but they have this in them. So these players that persevered, it's psychological flexibility.
Yeah.
The lack of psychological flexibility is the answer to your question. The players that weren't able to view the injury as a challenge or even as a positive problem, they weren't going to make it through. And it didn't matter what manual technique I did on them, what exercise I gave them, or even the best surgeon in the world. The players that figure it out, as simple as this is, they figure it out. So I realized my job is to just get out of the way for the players that are figuring it out. And the players that can't figure it out, how can I help them change this perspective? Because we can give them all the work in the world, but we're not getting to the root of the problem. So my belief is that a lack of psychological flexibility is the reason why not everybody gets through it the way we would hope.
So coaches can only be as effective to exactly what you said earlier with the tools that they're given. It's what they do at the end of the day. And I actually believe there's also this willingness to want to be coached. So you're right. This inflexibility, if you would, is really a hard hurdle to get over because there's two things that have to happen. One, they have to be able to admit to themselves that they can get them where they accept it. And then two, then take on the efforts and all the tools that are there. But most notably from a coach, it's really difficult to work with people who might not be willing to do it. They might be reluctant. You have certain tactics or ways that you help maybe bring them to light so that they get more comfortable and can connect better with you?
It's fun. I love it. I love podcasts like this when we mastermind more than anything else because we're both coaches. So the three elements of intrinsic motivation, right? Self-determination theory. You have autonomy, you have social support, and you have the efficacy, right? To feel like you can accomplish it. I think we help people feel efficacious in the PT world. We give them steps, things like that. We give them support. We encourage them. But you know what? We do a terrible job in the orthopedic world, the sports medicine world, autonomy. It's always our program they're doing. It's always our program. So all my colleagues that have these amazing physical therapy minds and skills, the one thing that they do a really poor job at is they don't give their patient, their client, their athlete autonomy.
Yeah.
And so the biggest thing is you have to empower them with the process. It has to be their process. It can't be Dave Myers. I could be the best cervical spine physical therapist and do all those little joints in the neck. That doesn't really matter at the end of the day if they don't have the feeling like it's part of their process. It works for me, but it's not my neck injury. It's not my neck pain. So this is a call out to anybody listening. If you're a client, if you're a patient, if you're a clinician yourself, if you're not giving your client that autonomy to be immersed in the process, it's not going to work. So I think this is one of the keys to this whole injured to elite methodology. It's empowering it to be adapted into your life. And it might sound a little cliche, but if you're not doing this, nothing else is going to work.
I want to talk about bubble bursting syndrome. This was a term that did not get aired in the interview that I did with, ironically, St. Louis Cardinals Daniel Ponce de Leon, who Daniel was on the show, and on his way up to the majors. I mean, the fact that he's still here with us today is amazing. The man got hit right back up on the mound by baseball, 120 miles an hour, right on the noggin, and had a very serious situation where, brain surgery is basically required. Yeah.
Do you know that I was one of the last steps before he went back up to so he was one of the last players I worked with the St. Louis Cardinals.
Oh, wow. I did not know that. Well,
so
small world. Yeah.
So Ponce, yeah. I mean, I don't know how much Ponce shared, to the point of we get a helmet sent to us from Major League Baseball of, is Ponce willing to, is he going to want to wear this thing? And the whole entire backstory to that. First of all, Daniel Ponce de Leon is an unbelievable individual. I mean, you want to talk about a growth mindset or psychological flexibility?
Yeah, well, that's where I was going to go. Literally, I asked him the question, did you think your career was over? Where was your brain when he did this? And he's like, no, I'm just going to, once he woke up, I'm going back on the field. And this comes from deep within. He's got very deep faith. He's got a good family structure. And he's starting out not only with all of the physical tools, but this is a guy that literally has the mental game right then and there. Nothing is stopping this guy from whatever he's doing. Almost dying, by the way. So when
it was a very bad injury.
Oh, it was really serious. And how he brushes it off is unbelievable. But I do believe that there's something to this. Sometimes there is something to be said about having just one major laser focus and knowing that nothing's going to stop you. And as long as you're okay, nothing is going to bother you too much. But not everybody has this. Go ahead.
Well, what's the one thing he didn't do before that injury? He didn't make it to the big leagues yet.
He was still on a path. You're 100% right.
He had such a vision that no matter what, he was getting to the show. And it was only fuel.
Yeah. And so let's talk about this. Not everybody has the whatever they put in the water that Ponce grew up with. and helping people make the transformation is really difficult for those that have already made it. Very good point. And might have now fallen off of the pedestal and come down.
Lose the willpower. We feel we want to be exonerated.
How much about perspective do you help him deploy into this? Because a lot of people don't understand the space that they're in and understanding how to maybe rethink about where they are as opposed to that lasered tunneled view that Ponce had. There's a big difference when you get knocked down versus on the way up. You hit exactly where I was going on this.
Lou, people like you, me, and Ponce, we might have been given a certain set of circumstances that led us in a way where we have a certain perspective. I don't have the $1 trillion answer just yet in terms of what that is, because I do believe that there's a lot of different elements that go into it that go outside of science. What I can tell you is this: I live with, I live around family members that, have different ailments and things. And I've seen the gamut of different attitudes. I can't change someone's attitude. I don't think I've ever changed anyone's attitude. I think I've strengthened attitudes that were going in a good direction for their goals. And I think maybe those that have had negative attitudes, I've given them maybe a point of inflection to reconsider. However, I will never sit here on any podcast. I will never, ever tell anybody that I can change anyone's perspective, because I absolutely cannot. But I do believe that there are these hundreds and millions of little holes in time of opportunity. We have to remind people that these opportunities are there. We can't just give up. My life's work is to not give up on others. If I don't believe in that person, how can they believe in it? This is the whole thing I see in a clinic. Well, I don't want my patient to get hurt. Don't fall when you go home, and then they fall. You have to believe in people, and you have to believe that they can shift their perspective. If I've had 1,000 clients that haven't listened to my advice, that next client's going to listen, because that's my life's work. So it actually goes into like the mastermind principle, and it goes into the whole group think mentality of how we can maybe shift perspective by the power in thought together. So we have to believe in everybody, their ability to kind of have the same attitude you, me, Pons has. However, I can't shift it. And that's I think something as a coach you have to accept as well. But it doesn't mean you shouldn't try. As ironic, I guess, or as much, it's a little bit of I guess a catch-22, or a what's the word I'm looking for in coaching? Not juxtaposition, but yeah.
I think the catch-22 I got. You're going in either way, and you're stuck in either direction. I'm before I get to this other question, I'm penciling on this one because I'm trying to figure out the right way to address it. Is people have joy in their work, and is the joy in your work in the moment, or is the joy in your work seeing your clients on the other end of the success that they've achieved? The process or the end result for you? Where do you see the happiness in what you do?
I have moments where I see something happen in someone's life. I have, for instance, a client I work with a lot more students now and developing professionals and coach them. When I see, for instance, a client change their perspective around, all of a sudden they're getting themselves out a little bit of the hole, the depression, they're climbing the ladder out. It feels great. For a second or two, you're like, wow, this person really made some big progress this week. But when I'm in that flow state and I see the emotional reaction of my client and I see them vibing with it, and I almost feel like they're leading me a little bit, and I enjoy that moment, that's when I don't care about the fact that it's a job. I don't care about the fact that I'm even getting paid for it. It's just my life's work. So I would say there's definitely a combination. They're both really important, but by following that inner voice of just letting me be led by what their needs are and how I can adapt to that. And in the process, it's been much more fulfilling than just, hey, let's get to the World Series and let's win a World Series ring, or let's get the next job or the next opportunity, because they're so short-lived. Although those wins are still really kind of important and vital for me. But I encourage people out there, whether you're a coach, a physical therapist, a strength coach, a mental performance coach, a life coach, you gotta really go deep inside, that little, inner voice that's saying, hey, what about this? I want to talk about this. You got to feed that little, as Carl Jung called it, the self, the inner self, that shadow. I call it a shadow. You got to get that shadow out if you want to enjoy your work. If you're operating in a compartmentalized world of coach and personal life, well, good luck with that. But you got to get to that inner self, and you got to feed that inner soul, that voice that was telling you, maybe we should take this direction in our career. Maybe we should try this approach. That's the creativity that lacks in healthcare right now, in sports performance. And that's what I'm bringing as my little unique ray of sunshine into sports performance and even beyond. That's my sunshine there. Just go within, get your story and run with it like the wind.
David, you've got tons of letters after your name and you're trying to add more. You've got your chance to work in a major league organization. You've created a great new process, written a book, and this whole Injured to Elite mindset and mastermind way of thinking is what Thrive Loud is all about. Yet we all have days when we're not quite kicking on all cylinders, as we've discussed in this program here. David, when you have trouble thriving, what practice do you seek, or an individual do you seek out to get yourself back on the thriving track?
Oh, it's by design, my friend. I have a lot of people in my life. My mentor, John Denny, who's in the book, who learned a very specific harmony exercise, guided meditation that was passed down to him by his mentor, Carol Ryder, the astrologer to the stars from the 70s and 80s. And, John has perpetuated this harmony exercise, which I practice on a daily basis. And so I'm just a part of this really interesting circle of people that are my mentors that I can rely on, but really it's myself, because on a daily basis, if we don't reprogram our thoughts, if we just let it go into the default program, it's going to suck you down. So it's a constant resetting and a reprogramming every single day. You have to reprogram yourself into health. You have to reprogram yourself into abundance. You have to reprogram yourself into what some call I am, that deep sense of I am, and having that ownership of yourself. So if you don't have a daily practice to do that, I think you really should spend some time before you work on anything else of what your anchor is, whatever you want to call it, because I'm very blessed. It's the harmony exercise for me. That's a big part of it. You can check it out, theharmonyexercise.com, by the way. Free.
We're going to put it in the show notes.
All right.
Let's do this. Let's do the admin part of the show. Dr. David Meyer, share with the listeners all the places people can find you, learn about you, connect with you, reach out to you. We will put it all in the show notes, but it gets way more engagement when they hear it directly from you.
Absolutely. And thank you so much again, Lou. It's been great coming on. So the best thing I want you to do right now is listen to the first section of my audiobook. It's free. It's up there, www.injuredtoelite.com/listen. Okay. Listen to the first section of my audiobook. It's the most important section. And when I say first section, it's the first third of the book, and it's a 220-page book. So it will give you all the different things I'm talking about, the mental approach to rehabilitation. And if you enjoy it, please buy my book on Amazon, Injured to Elite. Check it out. You don't have to, though. If the first section solves it, then I'm a happy man. And you can follow me on Instagram, Dave M. Meyer, DaveMmeyer. Thank you so much.
Dr. David Meyer, permission to go down Fun Street with me here at Thrive Loud.
Let's do it.
Okay. Share with the listeners what you shared with me was your all-time favorite movie.
Oh, my all-time favorite movie is Rudy, without unequivocally.
Okay. Aside from the height similarity, which was your comment to me, why does that movie connect and mean so much to you?
Just the different adversity that Rudy went through in terms of from the very beginning of being doubted by his own family and his own teachers and coaches. Doubt has fueled me. And I don't know exactly why, but doubt just fuels me. I don't know if maybe it's my superpower. My superpower is I take the fuel of doubt and it just goes into high octane energy, and I go create books and I go get degrees. I don't know. That's just my superpower. And I guess I identify that with the movie Rudy. And it was really a special thing for my father and I. We love that movie together.
It is in a movie that's impossible to not get teary-eyed with. Oh. And I have this thing that, like, I don't get sad at really sad, depressing movies. I get sad at happy, sad movies, whatever you want to call them, from like It's a Wonderful Life or Rudy or those overcoming things. That and the music, I think might click into you, right?
I love that you just said that, because I have a few albums I listen to religiously on Spotify. The Rudy soundtrack is something that I still run to almost on a weekly basis. That's it's funny you said that. Frequency.
It's a really good, there's certain things that just get you when you hear it. And that's one of those. All right. We're going to do the speed round of Fun Street. And this is how it rolls here. I'm going to ask you something. I want the first thing that pops in your mind. I am looking for things. These are things that make you feel good, lift you up, motivate you, make you thrive. Most of them, at least.
All right.
Ready to roll?
Let's roll, baby.
Okay. A song you love to hear or that pumps you up?
Rolling Stones, Devil, what's the devil one? Devil one. I can't think of the name right now. Sympathy for the Devil?
Yes, Sympathy for the Devil. There you go. Favorite food that's not a dessert?
Chicken Parmesan, and I'm a vegetarian.
Favorite dessert?
Chocolate molten lava cake. I don't care about the movie Chef. It's my favorite.
That movie hasn't been hit yet as a favorite movie, and it's one of my favorites.
It's one of my. I love. I mean, obviously from the movie Rudy, you could see that coming out.
An activity you wish you did more of?
Paddleboarding.
An activity you wish you did less of?
Worrying.
if I could snap my fingers, David, and you can go anywhere in the world, where are you?
We got to go to Europe. I mean, that's been on my list so long. We just got to go all over. England, London, start with there.
As a Mets fan, which I am as well, God willing,
Sorry.
I don't know why we are. Is there one moment in your lifetime, I want to make that clear, your lifetime, that sticks out more than anything else as a Met fan?
Okay. So, and I'll make this quick for you. 2015 or 14, before I got my job with the Cardinals, Mickey Levinson, God rest his soul, passed away. He's a physical therapist that worked for Hospital for Special Surgery, was the man that took me to Citi Field to be behind the scenes in the training room, my first major league experience. And I'm standing behind the turtle with Terry Collins on my right, David Wright on my left, Curtis Granderson, an absolute gentleman, a really nice man. And I was standing on Citi Field in the training rooms with, Ray Ramirez came in with the pants. He's famous for wearing the actual baseball pants. Yeah, I did it. I mean, the kid from Long Island did it. So that was my moment. I'm pretty proud to say that.
It's pretty spectacular. Dr. David Meyer, truly a professional, injured to elite, covered it all, a coach with the right mindset who wants to help people and with your life's passion of doing this, man. Dude, thank you for coming on the program. Great to connect with you here today. And as we briefly mentioned before we hit the opening, if you get out on the golf course, keep hitting it, that long drive that you're able to do, man, all that torque that you got behind you.
Well, hopefully I don't hurt myself. I'll call a colleague if I do. But Lou, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. Loved coming on today.
You got it, my friend. And to all our listeners out there, thank you for joining us. And until next time, keep thriving onward and upward. And remember, be brief, be bright, be gone.
You've been listening to Thrive Loud with your host, Lou Diamond. Head on over to Spotify, Good Pods, or wherever you get your podcasts, and subscribe and listen to all of our incredible episodes. Follow Lou at Thrive Loud everywhere on social media, and head on over to thriveloud.com to connect directly to Lou and learn how you and your business can thrive loud too. Thanks for listening.